What does a reasonably simple but effective skincare routine look like for mature skin? Well, I turned 52 this month, and as a journalist dedicated to exploring skincare and healthy aging, the routine that I follow is based on the expert advice I've picked up from my interviews along the way, and also what's showing visible results on my own skin. I've also factored in the considerable feedback I've had from my audience over the years about what has and hasn't worked for them. So in today's video, I'll share what I use in my skincare routine and why. And in the description below, you're going to find a link to a page where I've outlined the routine in writing and linked to the products I use and any discount codes that I've sourced for them as well, if you want to check that out later on. And I follow what are considered to be the cornerstones of an ideal skincare routine for mature skin. And that is to include a moisture protective cleanser, antioxidant serum, retinoid, peptides and ceramides and omega fatty acids, and to improve blood flow to your skin, stimulate your muscles and boost collagen production with a few select devices. So let me now walk you through what those are. So one of the less considered elements of a skincare routine is how we cleanse our skin, and I've come to realize it's actually one of the most important elements. That's because our skin gets drier as we age because we produce less sebum or oil, and that starts changing our skin microbiome, which negatively impacts skin cell productivity and the amount of collagen produced. So we want to make sure our cleanser is not stripping our skin of moisture. And I'm going to start with my evening routine, because most mornings I actually only now just rinse my face in the shower, but at night I cleanse with a gentle oil-based balm. I've got a few favorites that I rounded up in a recent video linked below, looking at some of the best facial cleansers for mature skin. The two I use most frequently are the Oat Cleansing Balm from Ageless, priced at around $13 or £12 for 150 millilitres, and it's widely available internationally. And I also absolutely love the Chamomile and Oat Lipid Cleansing Balm from Beauty Bay, but I don't see it listed on their site in the US, so I'm not sure how widely available it is outside of the UK, where it's around £10 for a 90 millilitre tub. Both include oat kernel oil, known to support the skin's moisture levels with its ceramides and omega-3 and 6 fatty acids. And it's also a proven prebiotic, so it's microbiome friendly. To use an oil-based cleansing balm, I firstly wet my hands, but not my face. And that's an important bit because you want the balm to be easy to apply, but not overwhelmed by water. So I put a 5p coin or dime-sized amount in the palm of my hands and rub it over my face, working out my mascara and sweeping the balm down my neck, and then removing everything with a hot, wet face towel, which I sweep over once, rinse, and then do it again. So let's talk about retinoids now. A few nights a week after cleansing, I use a retinal serum. Retinal is short for retinaldehyde, which sits in between retinol and retinoic acid in terms of the speed of its effect on the skin. Retinol is a less potent form of vitamin A that's a couple of conversion steps away from the form of vitamin A that's made in our skin, which is retinoic acid. Most of you will have heard of Retin-A or tretinoin, and that is retinoic acid. It's prescription only because it's the most biologically active form of vitamin A in that it gets to work on the skin straight away. The skin doesn't have to convert it because it's already in its bioavailable form, which is why our skin reacts more strongly to it. Retinaldehyde sits between those two because it's just one conversion step away from that most potent and active form. Yet I find it strangely to be much gentler on the skin than retinol, while still doing a great job on smoothing out the surface of your skin over time. So to me, it's less irritating than a strong retinol and hugely less irritating than tretinoin or retinoic acid. Some people adjust to retinoic acid and can tolerate it, while for others like me, it continues to leave their skin dry with flare-ups of irritation longer term. And that's a scenario we want to avoid because dry, irritated skin suggests inflammation, and ongoing or chronic inflammation is counterproductive for skin health and volume. If you haven't already tried retinaldehyde and you're interested in doing so, the good news is there are lots of brilliant and inexpensive retinal options out there. I have tried a lot of them by now, and I haven't reacted badly to a single one of them. So like retinol and retinoic acid, retinol comes in different strengths. My mainstay is from Geek and Gorgeous at 0.1%, but I was able to go straight to that strength because I switched from tretinoin. If you're new to retinoids, start with a lower strength retinal and build up. The Geek and Gorgeous retinal is an uncomplicated, unfragranced formula and well priced too at around £18 or $20. Along the way, I've tried the Medic 8 retinal in the same strength, which does a very similar job, but it does have a more sophisticated formula. You know, it glides very nicely over the skin, so it has a smoother finish. But it is way more expensive at around £90 or $110. And really, I think most retinols of the same strength from popular brands are going to perform pretty similarly, in my experience anyway. The Naturium retinal at £35 or $45 in the same strength is a good midpoint option, which I'm using at the moment. Moving on now to peptides and growth factors. So I finish my evening routine by applying either Calosum's multi-action cream or a peptide-based serum. And to explain, Calosum is a growth factor-rich skin and hairline that I've used in cycles for a couple of years now. And regular viewers will have heard me talk about it before, and I recently shared a 2-year update on my husband and dad's results using the hair growth serum, which I'm going to link below. But I cycle the Calosum cream because A, it's extremely expensive with a 50-gram pot costing £175 or $200. So I only use it in the evenings, and one pot will typically last me about 12 weeks. B, it's a biological product, and the growth factors are derived from stem cells found in the umbilical cords of red deer. Being a biological product, although it's cruelty-free, means it's not for everyone. And I also cycle it down to safety because we don't have long-term studies on the use of growth factors in skincare. So I want to take a more cautious approach. The Calosum products are naturally very rich in growth factors and peptides, and we have seen clear benefits using this range within my family. Growth factors are proteins that stimulate cell growth and repair, while peptides are short chains of amino acids that can signal to cells to start repairing and increasing their collagen production. So they play a similar role, and I think are very much worth including in your skincare routine. So I'm going to come on to some other options. Going through menopause, as I am at the moment, my skin is more prone to redness on my cheeks, and that is calmed almost overnight when I use Calosum. Over time, I think it's been really good for balancing my skin. It feels nourished and looks less lined, but its anti-aging effects do take time, and I wish it was less expensive. And that's kind of my overall take on it. But by cycling it, it does mean I get to try out lots of other great peptide-based products too. So I'm working on an episode to round up some of the best peptide serums and creams across the price ranges and to explain the science supporting them. Right now, I'm testing a brand new peptide serum from Medic 8, which they recently launched and which they call their Liquid Peptides Advanced Formula. So they sent me a sample, and they have focused on a few key peptides which have better evidence behind them, and then worked on a delivery system which helps them better penetrate the skin barrier. Earlier reviews from beauty journalists have been largely positive. I've only been using it for a week or so, but Medic8 say the serum should visibly reduce even deeper lines within 8 weeks. So we'll see, and I'll share my thoughts in April when I do a video dedicated to the best peptide serums. So their formula includes the Matrixyl 3000 peptide complex, which has some good supporting evidence, but it's pricey. This particular formula at £79 for 30 millilitres or $92. At the less expensive end of the market though, the Ordinary's multi-peptide and copper peptide serum I think is a solid choice at around £30 or dollars, and it also includes the Matrixyl 3000 complex. Number 7's Future Renew serum is another lower priced peptide based product that has good evidence behind it. And I'll link to an interview I did with the scientists who developed that range, having created a synthetic peptide that mimics one found in human skin. So they are two affordable but strong peptide options. And if I'm using a peptide serum instead of the Calosum cream in the evenings, I just use good old Aveeno moisturizer afterwards because it's a great protector of both your skin barrier and microbiome, thanks to the oat kernel extract. And I mix that with a couple of drops of facial oil just to lock it all in. And finally, in the evening, let's talk about ceramides and omega fatty acids. I like to see both those ingredients included in either my moisturizer or the facial oil that I will use to finish off my nighttime routine. Ceramides are naturally occurring lipids or fats in our skin that form a protective barrier, helping to lock in moisture and prevent water loss. Omega fatty acids, and particularly omega-3, provides nourishment and nutrients to our skin and have been found to have multiple benefits, including helping to regulate our oil production, improve hydration, and reduce inflammation as well. So I look for those elements in a facial oil, and the one I use at night is Renew Pure Radiance Oil from True Botanicals. I only use a few drops because it's pricey at $110 for a 30 milliliter bottle, but a little goes a long way. So I make that last months. This one is packed with plant-based omega fatty acids and antioxidants, and it just seems to agree with my skin. It's naturally fragrant with the plant oils, but if you have very sensitive skin or you don't like heavier oils, this might feel like a little bit much for your skin. But I do have an alternative because I use a lower cost facial oil in the morning that's also a real winner. So let's switch to the morning routine. So the cleansing part in the mornings is easy because I just rinse my skin with water in the shower. As I mentioned earlier, it doesn't really need another cleanse. So what I'm trying to do is hold on to all the natural moisture that I can. But after showering, I still use the Aonia Age-Defying Serum from Delavie Sciences, which contains the star ingredient Bacillus lysate, which is a kind of super antioxidant discovered by NASA scientists that can protect the skin against UV damage and significantly boost its hydration too. And the makers, Delavie Sciences, say that their serum also stimulates a signaling protein in our skin called SIRT1, helping cells to become more productive and repair themselves as well. So again, I'll link below to a review I did of the Aonia serum explaining the science behind it in more depth. But I continue to use it once a day in the mornings. I started with the original formula, which was slightly irritating, and I've now moved to the sensitive one. And I like the additional UV protection for my skin, but also I think it has helped plump out the fine lines around my eyes in particular since I started using it, and it supports my skin's hydration generally. The serum is £100 or $125, which is why I only use it once a day, and like the Calisum, I do alternate it to save money, particularly over winter when I'm using a lower cost but similar product. So while it's not identical to Bacillus lysate, an ingredient called ectoin has very similar properties but is easier to come by, so it's cheaper. So while the bacteria that Bacillus lysate is derived from is classed as an extremophile because it can survive in the most extreme conditions, including space, ectoin is an extremolite, a molecule that helps microorganisms survive in extreme environments. There are a few studies supporting its benefits, which, like Bacillus lysate, includes boosting UV protection and hydrating skin from within. It's thought to have strong antioxidant properties and has been linked with a reduction in hyperpigmentation too. And it's included in a number of serums and moisturizers out there, but I use it in Biosance's copper peptide serum. So while I don't love it as much as the Aonia serum, it doesn't absorb quite as readily and it's a little heavier. Ultimately, at $68, the Biosense serum is still a good affordable alternative, or more affordable, and a great daytime serum. From there, I apply a fermented oil from Mesama, which is hyper gentle, unfragranced, and packed with omega fatty acids and antioxidants. But the fact that the oil is fermented means it's really readily absorbed into the skin, so it's a great daytime option. It's priced at around $59 or £44 for 30 milliliters, and that does go a long way. And for a sunscreen, I still use Blueline's Blue Vado Sunfix Moisturizer. It's £48 or $58 for 90 milliliters, and it contains the physical sunscreen zinc oxide and the anti-aging ingredient methylene blue, which has been found to slow cell aging and protect the skin from sun damage. So the official SPF is 21, but that's because methylene blue is not recognized yet as a sunscreen by the FDA. And I'm going to link below to an interview with the scientist who created the Blueline range, and she explains more about how it works as a sunscreen. And I love this sunscreen because it provides a bit of added moisture in the mornings as well as the protection, and you get some of the topical benefits of methylene blue too along with it. And that is pretty much it for my skincare routine. It's a lot of info, so I'm going to just do a speed walk through the devices I use now and any clinical treatments that I've had as well, because I'm often asked about those. I still use the Zip Halo microcurrent device several times a week to help with muscle toning and to boost blood flow to the skin and therefore my skin cells. I use it every other night, alternating with the Nira Pro laser, which I use on my brow area, my temples, and around the jawline. And I think it's good for reducing wrinkles. I think it has clearly reduced the depth of the wrinkles on my forehead in particular, and I'll come on to that in a moment again. I use a pulsed red light panel from Mesama so I can cover my face, neck, and the back of my hands in one go. And I use it for around 6 minutes at a time, typically 4 days a week. And I sit doing my facial exercises in front of it as well. I also use a little metal facial roller most days, just for a couple of minutes when I first get up to get the blood flowing to my skin, and it helps with lymphatic drainage too. Now, in terms of clinical treatments, I haven't done much in the last 5 years basically. Before that, I had one Ultherapy session, which I've reviewed on the channel, and a few Tixel sessions around my eyes, which I also reviewed. I had been having Botox in my frown lines every 9 months or so, but it's been 9 months now since my last treatment, and usually by this point the lines would be annoying me, and they're not. So I do wonder if my continued use of the Nira for a year now on my forehead has improved those lines to the point that I don't feel tempted to go and get Botox. So we'll see how it pans out. But with Botox being a toxin, if I didn't have to use it that much, that would clearly be a bonus. Now, I am a total coward when it comes to clinical treatments and injections, so I have had just a tiny amount of hyaluronic acid filler in the last couple of years, just in my temples and my upper cheeks. So I think probably 2 milliliters in total. The results weren't terribly noticeable, but I still think that was helpful just to give me a little bit more volume there and still leave you looking natural with a bit of extra support. I do think microneedling is a great idea, and last year I had 2 exosomes facials at a nearby clinic which actually uses a serum made by Calisym, and I'll link that review below. I liked what they did for my skin, and if I had more time and more cash to splash, I would either go and have that done more often or I would just do that at home. Finally, just a month ago, I had a plasmage treatment on my upper eyelids to try to give them a bit of a lift. And I saw it advertised at a place just outside Edinburgh where I live for £200, which is around $250. And I thought at that price, because it was much cheaper than what the clinics in town charge, I decided to go for it. And it was basically like having little electrical charges fired on your skin, and it should cause skin to contract and collagen to build over time. Now, I'm not falling over myself with joy at the results just now. That's nearly 4 weeks in, but it can take 8 weeks for the full result to show. So I'm going to give it the full time, and then I'll share a review on the channel with you and you can judge the results for yourself. Meantime, I've had to put up with wrinkly, weakened skin for the last few weeks, so my eyelids actually look worse right now. But that is basically my routine and everything I use in a very large nutshell. And I do these little skincare routine updates annually, and anyone with a good memory may have realized that my routine has actually changed very little over the last year or so. I've settled on what I feel is a good mix for me. And we see a lot of reviews where a product's been tried for a few weeks and there's a before and after and a judgment made. To me, I think that products do need to be given a bit more time to be fully evaluated. So helpfully, it helps knowing that many of the products I include in my routine, I have used for almost a couple of years now. I still like to scan the horizon and try out different products so I can share my experiences with you and keep an eye on the skin science. But unless science surprises us, I'll be sticking to those basic components for the foreseeable that I mentioned in the intro. That's a moisture protective cleanser, antioxidant serum, retinoid, peptides, ceramides, and omega fatty acids, and then improving blood flow, stimulating muscles, and boosting collagen production through a few select devices. That approach is unlikely to change in the near future for me. But let me know in the comments what your skincare routine looks like. Is it similar? What are some of your hero products, the ones that you absolutely swear by? And a reminder that I've linked in the description to the products featured today and any discount codes I have and all the videos and articles relating to some of the different approaches and products that I've covered in this episode. And if you enjoyed the episode and you haven't already, then I hope you'll hit subscribe along with the notification bell, or follow if you're listening to the podcast so you can catch future episodes from me. And to make sure you don't miss out on the content I'm sharing around how to age well, look and feel good for longer, then sign up to my free monthly newsletter linked below, where I round up all the latest content from me so you don't miss a thing. But for now, thank you for being here today.